So far, I've made 2 videos on Cyberpunk's endings. One is the ending that broke me, and the other being the ending that I thought was the worst ending. Now, I'm going to talk about what I think is the best ending, the Aldecaldo ending. Just like all the other endings in the base game, we make our choice to head to this ending on the roof of Misty's Esoterica. We call up Panam, who was asleep, and wonders why we're calling her at 3 AM. We tell her we need help to break into Arasaka Tower, and we need to do it soon or we'll die. She doesn't even hesitate with giving us her okay and heads over to pick us up. We head downstairs and get another accurate tarot reading from Misty. She tells us that we have balance, love, and friendship in our future, but also foretells some tough choices ahead of us. Panam arrives and we pass out in her car for a good long while. Saul and Panam have been hashing out the details of the plan to break into Arasaka, and Mitch has been keeping watch over our body while we are unconscious. We follow Mitch and he talks about how the whole clan will be setting out the following day to help us with the plan. Only the veterans are clued in on every detail so as not to worry the rest of the clan that it's basically a death sentence for many. The plan is to get into Arasaka by digging a tunnel already in the works by Night Corp, who have been digging a new maglev line in the area. During the confusion, the Aldecaldos will take as much equipment as they can. The drill only needs a few minutes to drill right into Arasaka, but the problem is that the security is being provided by Militech. Even if it's standard issue security, it's not going to be a walk in the park. We tell Saul that we need to contact Alt, an AI who is also Johnny's ex, as she needs to connect to Mikoshi to help cure us. He points us to Dakota, who has all the netrunning gear prepped, and we take our ice bath into cyberspace. We make contact with Alt, who talks about how Johnny isn't there with us, but also makes a brief mention of Somi, which I thought was a cool bit of attention to detail. We ask what will happen to all the other constructs in Mikoshi, to which Alt responds that she is going to absorb all of them into her. Afterwards, she sends a program on a shard to give her a secure connection to Arasaka and allow her to access Mikoshi. We were gone for just a few moments in the real world, and we see Dakota's equipment in tatters for that small amount of time we were contacting Alt. We get the shard and head over to Saul, who was looking for us while we were in our ice bath. We see all the Aldecaldos gathered around, with Saul at the forefront. He officially makes us an Aldecaldo, and we even get a nice looking jacket to go with it. Everyone celebrates at the news while still prepping for the raid to come. We have a small chat in the meantime with Mitch, the veterans, Teddy, Bob, and Carol, and even shoot a few rounds with Cassidy before joining with Panam. She is nervous about the raid, feeling that she's leading the clan to what feels like certain death. Even Saul, agreeing with everything she says, has her on edge, as it's something she is nowhere near used to. She can feel the doubt from the people and it weighs heavily on her. We apologize for putting her and the family through this, but the Aldecaldos do anything for a member of the family, even go through hell and back. After a bit of chatting about the past, which has been making Panam feel better, we awake to find it's time for the raid. We join with the rest of the Aldecaldos, who are all making one last check to make sure everything is in order. We set out, and once we get to the dig site, are immediately bombarded by a huge amount of missiles from Militech. That doesn't stop us, and we barrel through to the dig site. The basilisk goes down, and while Panam works on the repairs, we take out the drones that are acting as first responders. Once the basilisk is back up and running, we are free to go, but lose Bob to a drone that blew up the tower he was on while he was trying to jam communications. We can't stop now and continue forward as the defense from Militech gets more intense. We ram through it and eventually make it to the control tower as we ram through the first gate, but the basilisk goes down once again. Panam is on repairs once again, and we head out to deal with the straggling Militech troops and escort Mitch and Carol to the control room to remotely connect to the drill. While they're accessing the controls, the rest of the Aldecaldos get assaulted by a huge wave of Militech troops. We manage to fend them off for the time being, but as soon as we do, an AV of troops land and we lose Teddy. Militech has started to send out their heavy guns with drones, AVs, mechs, and missile launching vehicles. Panam got the basilisk working just in time though, and we swiftly take care of the big threats. We ran through the last gate and finally get to the drill. We meet up with Mitch and Saul, but there's another problem. Militech has sent a huge wave to Cassidy and Carol, who stayed behind to keep the control tower from being taken. Mitch heads out to solo pilot the basilisk and help them as we operate the drill with Panam, with Saul following right behind. The drill did its job and we've made it into Arasaka Tower. We head to a room with a terminal using a maintenance shaft and figure out where the nearest access point is. We slip through the guards and get to the access point where we connect the shard and let Alt do her thing. She short circuits many of the guards' implants and even gets every single drone and mech under her control to take out any guards that remain. Our path to Mikoshi is clear and we head to the entry point. As we're opening the gate, we're ambushed by Atom Smasher. We lose Saul from the get-go, and after a grueling fight, we get our revenge, this time for both Johnny and Saul. Once we're finally in Mikoshi proper, we jack into the terminal and take our plunge to begin the process of our cure. We see a familiar scene with Johnny in cyberspace, but this time, he thinks our plan was a solid one. It is here we are given some bad news. Although Alt was able to split V and Johnny's psyche using Soul Killer, the damage the biochip has done to our bodies cannot be reversed, meaning that the body has basically become reconfigured to be Johnny's, and if we go back, we'll only have 6 months to live. V makes her frustration at all of this known, and Johnny tells her that they're going to stick to the original plan that they had all along. wrong. He will go with Alt beyond the black wall while we remain in our body. No matter what we tell Johnny, Alt gives us the choice. Either go through the yellow light to stay with her, or go through the well to go back to our body. We go through the well, Johnny says his goodbye, and everything fades to black. After a bit of time, we wake up in the passenger seat of Panam's truck. Panam is looking at Night City, and as we chat with her, it's apparent that she and the Aldecaldos mean to leave Night City and are taking us with her. Most of the family have already crossed, so we'll be the last batch to cross the border. We look at Night City one last time before driving to meet with the rest of the gang, Carol, Cassidy, and Mitch, who all apparently survived the ordeal. Once we arrive to make a few more preparations, Panam tells us someone is waiting for us. It's Judy. She's leaving Night City with us as she's always talked about. She says how she never really felt at home in Night City. She's been looking this whole time to feel at home somewhere in the city and had many phases trying to find it. Her time with the Mox, living in a mega building, and more, but each time she always came out disappointed. We tell her that things will be different and she's feeling better about the whole leaving thing. We check with Panam and Mitch, who tell us how we're going to cross the border. We're going through a forgotten tunnel to bypass Arasaka and any other border patrols that may be in the area. We hop in the Basilisk with Panam and try to beat the sandstorm to the tunnel. Judy starts talking about how she said her goodbye to her friends at Lizzie's and that she and Evelyn were planning on leaving Night City after the heist. The border patrol drones notice our presence, so Carol and Cassidy break off to distract them as we make our way through the tunnel. Once we're out of the tunnel, we exit the Basilisk to get some fresh air. Panam joins us and we take off the pendant and let it go to the wind. We tell Panam we're going home and that ends the scene. The end credit phone call shows up and a lot of these are the same as it was in the Arasaka ending. We start off with Vic asking how desert life is, and he also mentions to make sure we stop by his clinic if we're ever in Night City. Then Mama Wells chooses us out for joining the Aldecaldos, clearly showing her disapproval. She tells us to be careful and to stop by her bar and or give her a call sometime. Judy is up next and is leaving us a message while we're making breakfast. She tells us that this is the first time in her life that she has ever been happy. She blows us a kiss and ends the call. Mitch glitches out on his portion and talks to us super far away from the camera. He talks about how crazy the raid on Arasaka was and how the odds were stacked against us. But he says we all made it because V was there, the baddest merc he knows. Ro gives the similar message as she did in the Arasaka ending, calling Johnny names but saying how good it was to talk to him and for us to take care of ourselves. It's the same thing with Carrie, how he and the Us Cracks are going on tour together and to give him a call whenever we can. It's the same thing with River as well, where he mentions the equipment from the bust and wants to use that gear for good rather than blowing it up. Mirror Paralis once again talks about how he wants us to be head of his security since he'll be raising taxes and is worried he might be getting the wrong kind of attention. Misty gives us another tarot reading and she is ecstatic at how good the signs are. The cards say that we'll be having a good life out in the Badlands and she wishes us luck. Why do I think that this is the best ending? This is due to mainly two words that I can see popping up at this ending: hope and belonging. This ending, just like all others, has its pros and cons, but as far as pros go, it seems to give V a much more hopeful ending. She gets to be with Judy, and it seems that both of them are really happy. She may feel like she actually belongs somewhere with the Aldecaldos. She gets a chance at a new beginning, and she gets to leave the city, which has taken so much from her at this point. She lost Jackie, Johnny, it almost took her life, and I assume these losses would have just kept piling up if she stayed in Night City. This may not seem like a lot, but she actually loses quite a lot in all the other endings of the base game. She always loses Judy, she seems to get distant with her other friends or just straight up loses them altogether. In every choice, it's either her or Johnny, never both. That includes this ending. And she's still either hoping for a cure or loses way too much to survive. Now, one of the biggest cons I can think of, how V still only has 6 months to live. I know Panam mentions that some of her contacts may be able to help out, but if Arasaka couldn't do it, I highly doubt any of her contacts would be able to prolong her life. So her life will still be cut short unless a miracle just happens to land on V's lap in the middle of the Badlands, which I just don't see happening. Another is that there are quite a few deaths to happen for the plan to succeed. We lost Teddy, we lost Bob, and who knows how many of the non-veteran members we lost while we were raiding the Night Corp dig site. I feel like we may have lost a good chunk of them since they weren't as battle-hardened as Teddy and Bob were. She also doesn't fulfill her promise to Jackie to become a Night City legend. But let's be real, taking on Arasaka twice, killing Adam Smasher, all the other stuff we did like abducting Hanako during the parade, there is no way V is not a legend after all of that. This is also the closest to a traditional happy ending in this game that I can see. It's why it's my quote-unquote best ending, because the characters I've gotten so attached to get to be happy. Is it my favorite ending? No, especially not after Phantom Liberty. Now, would V ever take this option? I honestly can see it happening. Time and time again, V mentions just how merciless Night City is, devouring anyone and everyone that the city gets their hands on. So a chance at a new beginning? with people she cares about, it's definitely an option I could see V choosing. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that'll be it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed my takes so far on the different Cyberpunk endings, and I hope to see you in the next one where I go through the different branches to conclude Phantom Liberty as well as the new ending it brings. So I hope to see you all then.